So I guess I should just mention this while I remember, because I'd completely forgotten about it. But now I'm remembering because I'm just been watching some of the Stop ULEZ stuff when they're blocking all those cameras from being installed. And then they were talking about the government were even going to try and stop them doing that, which essentially is trying to take away the right to the basis of the objection. You can put an objection in writing to a council or, to the government, a petition, but part of the right to object is actually when it's the people, because it's the peers, there actually is a right to physically object. And when you're trying to get the government to have a hearing in Parliament or possibly even in a court or wherever, they might not want to have one. And that's the thing with the Petitions Committee in Parliament. They say, no, unless you give 100,000 signatures, then we're not going to hear it. Well, how do you collect the 100,000 signatures? You've got to get people to sign up or agree. Read the 1661 Tumultuous Petitioning Act, right? Now, if the opposition, the opponent, is continuing with what they're doing while you're trying to pursue objecting, like I said with the tree examples, if you're trying to save some trees and you raise it above the council or raise it above the courts, there is actually an avenue of appeal higher up. Now, if they're delaying or dallying while something is getting destroyed, that once it's gone, it's not a matter of just, if you win, you can rebuild another one or build another one. I don't think they, respect this kind of, like irreplaceable or priceless. If it's one of their paintings, a priceless painting, then they kick off about it. It's criminal damage. But, when it's an irreplaceable tree like that Darwin oak they're trying to save in Shrewsbury or something like that, that tree got cut down on Hadrian's Wall, that sycamore tree. When it's their property, their paintings, their, things. But, there's public property as well. But it's you get a say in it when you're the taxpayer. So it's part of the objection process. There is a physical level. You see, the police you might not be breaking the law. You might not have broken the law and you might not have been proved to be breaking the law in a court. But if the police suspect you of a crime, they've got all this legislation in place where they can, detain someone or citizen's arrest or take you for questioning or intervene, stop, block, obstruct, clear the highway, clear the road. None of that is with a jury and peers. None of that is under Magna Carta, being prosecuted with a fair trial. A lot of the police action literally is what we call force. They're forcing, but they can only force because the law says, they've got the right to clear a road or move an obstruction or do this or that. There's no legal proceedings, right? But, you're facing prosecution. But otherwise, even if they don't face prosecution, they're just kind of moving you out of the way. Get out of the way, grabbing hold of your body, moving you, pulling you around or whatever. But it's not for a prosecution a lot of the time. They're just using force. Now, this is what the government like, force, right? They believe in using force. They built up a police force since the 1830s, right? They've got this force from Sir Robert Peel. He invented the police force. Now, fast forward, how was this police force doing? It was a new invention, 1630s, right? They invented it. Oh, we'll have the police force, right? Because we had a legal obligation as citizens to hue and cry. If you didn't pursue criminals and catch them, you could be prosecuted or fined, or the villagers have to pay for the damage. Or for the community would suffer if they didn't police, do policing, right? Now, I've said this in another video, right? We'll have a little assessment. How is your little police force doing? Well, it's doing crap. You know, okay, if you hurt yourself or, you know, well, you're supposed to phone 999 for an ambulance, not a police officer if you're injured. But, you know, the police officers play their main role on the so's and woes of, oh, you know, we're helping injured people or accident victims, you know. That's basically what they put all the money on, you know. Oh, without us, you know, were there anyone there if you hurt yourself, you know. Or if you're in trouble, even though, you know, we're never going to get there in time, you know. And even if someone's racing down a motorway at 100 mile an hour, there's no evidence to prove that their vehicle was out of control or haven't even had a fault. You know, go and tell on the witness statement that might even be made up. They can't improve that. When it comes down to it, they're not solving crime. And is this new invention of the police force eradicated crime? Well, actually, no, it hasn't. In fact, there's never been more crime and crime's never been worse. But they've never had as many people and they've never had as many facilities. They've never had as much equipment. And now they want more because they want even to recognise people's faces. Well, if you haven't made crime completely gone, if you haven't figured it out as humans, you know, talk about Stella Assange talking about painting lipstick on a pig, right? If you have got tasers, truncheons, handcuffs, bulletproof vests, vehicles, helicopter, bomb disposal tanks, police station in every town and city, hundreds of thousands of staff, computers, they haven't never mind eradicating crime, it's got worse. It is a fail, right? It's a failure. It is a complete failure. It doesn't work. It does not work. And they're not even solving the most important crimes. What they ended up doing was going for very easy things and even setting us up for crimes, like sticking a camera there, the tripwire, with misleading signs, raking the money in. And then they've got all these undercover police with, you know, these drugs busting things and then going after political groups that actually might do well and outcompete these major political parties, right? So the police is a failure. Now, the thing is, we, the people, with the peers, the human beings, we're meant to, in our local communities and areas and county council areas under the charters, we're meant to have a jurisdiction as a collective people, right? And we have a right to object. When they sign those petitions, you're getting the approval of your peers by oath in writing. Now, this is the problem with Sunak from Winchester College and David Lord Cameron and Boris Johnson and Grant Shapps and, you know, Nick Gove and Jeremy Hunt, all these posh toffs, right? They've got their parliamentary privilege that they're knocking around, you know, with Lord Hangfield and Judge Jeremy Johnson KC, even though he writes tosh, he talks tosh, he spins tosh in his papers. He basically writes a 6-page paper of complete and utter tosh about parliamentary privilege protection. And these peers who get elected set the government up so these parties win, and then all other opposition is pretty much eradicated, even, you know, claiming tax back for political things, and then setting the police against you, undercover against all these political groups, so they can keep in the power and domination, right? We have force. We have a force. The public. Right? And when anyone, a applicant, someone who's puts money on the table, Johnson, Cameron, Ronald McDonald, Donald Trump, whoever, it's just a big bag of cash, puts it on the table in the council, I'm building 15 KFCs, right? Well, we object. I'm cutting down 50 forests, right? Oh, I'm the police chief, put a big bag of money on the table in the council, court of civil request, I want a lot of surveillance cameras with facial recognition, right? We object. Now, if you write into the council and object and they ignore it, if you do petition to the council and you object and they ignore it, then you go to a court with a judicial review that someone makes, hundreds of thousands of pounds out of in legal representations and you don't win, right? You appeal to Parliament and then they want you to get 100,000 signatures, which, in Wales, they got 400,000 signatures. They thrashed Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, who had the aid of the Electoral Commission to collect as many ticks in a box as possible to get elected with the help of the Electoral Commission. The Welsh people didn't need the help of the Electoral Commission in Wales to collect more signatures than Sadiq Khan did, percentage-wise in London, thrashed by the public, unaided by the government, and they don't even want to give them a referendum, right? When you're petitioning Parliament for a hearing in Parliament to save some trees or get rid of some buildings or whatever it is, right? It's meant to be subject to an annulment because you're objecting, you're appealing higher. You don't carry on cutting trees down or carry on installing ULEZ cameras or whatever, right? So you're the force. You're using the force, right? Because you're pursuing to go into a court, like when the police are at an event and people are messing around, they use the force, and then if they push against the force too much, they end up in a court, right? Well, this is what we're doing. This is what Sunak and Starmer can't get around their brain cells, right? We are the force. We are the force. We will use the force, physical, on-site force. All prosecutions are illegal. We're not dicking around in Dixieland, in Loughborough, in Cheltenham, in Norwich. This is national jurisdiction like the Cub Scouts, right? We're not chasing somebody with a loaf of bread or tearing down the motorway in Chester after someone who's nicked a XR2 that's worth £250. We're talking about national jurisdiction to save a forest or stop buildings being built on an estate that the council's failed. We are the force, and we will use force backed by legislation until we get the hearing, which they don't want to give you in Parliament. And even when you get it above the hearing, because you can get the people to vote on it, they don't even want to give you it. Because Ken Skates and Keir Starmer are about as democratic as a wet sock. Right? Now, what Claire Dyer and Kingsley Hamilton have been talking about is that they're going to even apparently try and take away anything that you strategically do or can think of to try and stop this government. They're trying to take it off you. Oh, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. What Sunak and Starmer need to fess up to, is one fact. They're trying to stop you being able to oppose them. Because effectively, by the time they're finished, you're not going to have any means or methods through which you can oppose them, right? Physically. And then on paper, even when you thrash them on paper, like in Wales, then they still will not lose. Even when it says in big letters, you lost. Losers. Even then, they won't, and the police won't even make them do as the law says when there's a legal entitlement, not entitlement, a legal requirement to a referendum when it exceeds 5%. It's not about chess, right? It's not about chess, working out the next move. Starmer doesn't want you to be able to move. It's not about Starmer and Sunak and this government outsmarting the public. The political parties outsmarting the public in moves. Oh, we're going to do this chess move. We're going to do that chess move. Now we'll change the law in this. Now you can't super yourself to that. They want to change the pieces. Have you heard all this thing in football? Set pieces, set pieces, set pieces, set pieces. Sunak doesn't want you to have take up the sword, the right to be a knight, unless he sends you. He's the one who hands out the honours, right? Sunak doesn't want you to be a knight or a queen or a castle. He wants you to be a pawn. You have no rights, no powers. When Sunak has finished legislating, you will all be pawns. And the only move will be forward one space. Sign the petition. And then when you've all signed it, and even if it had 1 million pawn signatures on it, there will be nothing. Because Sunak wants to transform you into a pawn. Because that's all you will ever be. A Labour pawn. A Tory pawn. Right? He's not strategically making moves against you. He's changing the pieces. So you can't make any moves, or you can't do that nice fancy horse move anymore. 2 forward and 1 to the side. Ooh, we'll change the law for that. No one driving around in the cars anymore. You can't go around and suss out what we're up to, what we're doing everywhere. You won't be able to, right? Sunak is actually trying to change not just the rules of the game, but the pieces. And in chess, that is not what you call the intelligent chess player. That's a cheat. This is not some Russian chess wizard sat there trying to strategize what moves to make. He wants to change the pieces, and he wants to change the rules of the game. And the rules of the game are, in chess, the game is, these are the pieces, they're the rules, now make your move, right? And Sunak and Starmer don't want to play this game anymore. They want to change it into backgammon or snakes and ladders. And, they've got plenty of snakes because they've been cheating on the legislation so much that it is now criminal, right? And to be honest, I was going to start this video. I wanted to talk about those undercover police that Big Brother Watch were talking about. Because the undercover police, right, this is how it all plays into it, right? The undercover police, according to that undercover officer on Big Brother Watch, 95% of the undercover work is to do with drugs. And the other 5% he claims is to do with watching political groups, movements and parties, which actually, if flourished, they could probably compete against these big parties. But that's why we've only got big parties, because they've cheated everyone else out of flourishing, right? Now, the other 95% on the drugs, right? There's something very dark and sinister about this whole drug thing, because they call it controlled substances, right? Now, this is the thing with the drug thing. I think they've got all of the drugs assessed. They've got all of the drugs tested and all the results. They know everything and more about these drugs. And then they've got the police, forensics, blah, 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 blah. And they reckon that, they're trying to stop people from getting hold of them or having them, right? They're trying to eradicate them. because they're illegal. So the police claim that they're trying to, get rid of all drugs and not have them anywhere. But yet they're called controlled substances. And it turns out that they actually really are just actually controlling them. But, not by going into a shop and buying something, and officially it's all kept in the dark underground, and therefore people apparently are forced to get their own, or through illicit means or ends or manufacturing or whatever, students, God knows who or why or how. But really, the police have got their own little game going on in this. It's called controlling the substances. So they've got their own little undercover networks where they're out there interacting with all these organisations, becoming part of them, keeping an eye on them. And apparently they don't go after small fish, they go after the big fish, right? But actually, it turns out that they might even actually be the big fish themselves. A scene from Point Break comes to mind with Agent Keats, What I actually think, this is my opinion, I think that the police and government are running the whole thing. They're actually running and controlling the whole thing and throwing all the stuff in there, right? Particularly with the whole Coca-Cola model. So the police, they're actually, I think that the police and government and scientists are actually completely and totally, they've got the whole thing under absolute and complete control, enough as they want to. Now, the thing with the substances is this, right? If we get I'll call it new, but it's not new, but it's becoming a lot more apparent now to more people that the foods that they've been manufacturing in these big companies and organisations, right? The main foods, fast foods, franchises and so forth, have not been keeping us at the best health. And in fact, it's been causing diabetes, cancer, so forth. Sperm count is down, by massive amounts since World War II. And then you've got they're using the advertising to try and get you to eat more of it, have more and more and more and more of it, right? And we've got this whole, Neil Oliver, Dr. John Campbell, Russell Brand, etc., etc. And then there's all these new other diseases coming out now. And then there was lots of waves of various things that happened in between, with Cameron, with the whole China sending over all the, methcaffeinone type stuff and that. The thing is, right, that if you have people, right, citizens, and if they've all really not grown or reached their potential growth when they have been growing up, like as an infant or child, right? Obviously, every citizen is unique, and every citizen, depending on their background and etc., everyone's got their own complete and total uniqueness, right? But there's something about the substances, right? And we know that they play a large role in the, like in the South American culture, in other cultures, right? They play a very, very large role in it, to do with, the doctors, the philosophers, the thinkers, the shamanic part of it, which is tied into the religion. And we know that this has been very similar or the same throughout the whole planet, particularly in prehistory, pre-Roman conquest, all the cultures around the Mediterranean, the old pyramids. Pretty much everywhere has had its own version of that, going all the way back to, to Sealy Caves and, around Africa, everywhere, pretty much everywhere, even the Eskimos, Siberians and so forth. Now, the thing is that with the gut bacteria, I think it's quite a big thing, because the gut bacteria makes, it helps, in the cells in your stomach help make a lot of your serotonin and dopamine and things like that, right? Now, the thing about, if we've been primarily put on foods that don't peak the potential of the human, right? They don't particularly, get everyone at their best, although everyone's, male testosterone levels are different. Obviously, you've got some people who are, obviously it's apparent in rugby and football. You've got people who perform well, or, like David Beckham or whoever it is, people running and so forth, masculine or feminine. But then you've also got other attributes as well. There are many different, dials on a graphic equalizer, but the thing is, if they are kind of keeping your battery, so to say, top down somewhat, and they've been doing that for quite a long time. The thing with these substances is this, right? They've got the model of the general society all set up, right? They have, these town centres with the pubs and the alcohol. Alcohol pretty much is like an alcohol is a kind of something that they call like more of a sedative. The alcohol, lots of people fighting and end up getting in arguments and trouble. There's all that part of it. But the alcohol mainly is a downer, except the spirits. But generally, the people do perform not as efficiently with alcohol, right? Now, the thing with the other substances is this: you never know exactly what they are, and they can be unpredictable, and they've all got very, very different effects, but they all do this modulation of our kind of human settings and faculties. Now, they've got in their little cabinet, these top scientists, and then and the police and so forth, and the government. In their cabinet, they have some of these substances do actually, in certain ways, enhance performance, right? To a certain extent in certain things, or can give people more confidence, right? Now, the thing is, my opinion is that while the unsuspecting public are going about there, get up, go to work, have your lunch, have your butties, get your sausages and bacon and your donuts and all this down here. Even people who are playing rugby, obviously there's some people who are more resilient to it, who are fit and slim, but there's other people, who end up getting, putting weight on health-wise. But when people want to go out and, enjoy themselves or socialise or whatever, they do it in town on a night. And this is where you've got all, nightclub owners and so forth and bouncers. But this is when all your police are out and CCTV in town centres, right? So, and usually it's easy to keep track of who's coming into these town centres and places and so forth when it's a small area, right? And then you have people knocking around at the bar, like Roy from the Crown Prosecution Service. A Crown prosecutor. Who's he goes at the local pub, local heavy metal pub. Keeping his ears peeled for what narcotics are going around. Bagging a few criminals here and there. Tipping the police off and that type of thing. So if you're switched on, right, from any town, you've got all these people coming into a small area, right? And then if you're not in the daze, if you're not drunk, and if you're not, kind of like brain fogged, if you're actually keen, if you're watching what's going on in these areas and who's popping up here and there, like the police would be interested in, what's going on in these town centres, and they're getting, and then if we use a model that they are controlling these substances, and some of them do, let's say, use the term charge people's batteries. So it's almost like you've been starving the machine. It's just been getting dribs and drabs of fuel every now and again, and it's not really been, it's just been like ticking over or stalling or churning. Have you ever seen those films, Return to Endor, the Ewoks? It was like a spin-off from Star Wars. They had like that Endor planet where the Ewoks were, but it was like a side kind of like series from Star Wars, and they had this kid, and he had this like he had like a laser gun, and they ended up crashing, and it was like it never worked because it was, I don't know if the battery was gone on it, or it actually, do you know what's made me think of that? The brand new Doctor Who episode this week, that called Boom or whatever. The front picture of the new Doctor guy, the Afro guy, he's got like a big black gun. Actually, no, was it the other guy, the guy with the kind of like he got like a bandage around his eyes or whatever. But so that film, this kid's got a gun, but it never works hardly. He's like pull the trigger, and like he's trying to like keeps trying to get some juice out of it. When they get in, when they're having to defend themselves. So if you think of us like that, like if you think that you yourself, occasionally, sometimes your memory might be working really good on some days, or you might be able to tell really good jokes, or you might be really witty or sharp. But other days, you're like sluggish and really slow, and you can't remember things, right? Okay? Now, if you think that, if there was a certain, magic potion which suddenly made your memory work, like everyone experiences, I just remembered this or that, my memory's working good. And I think most people have experienced being a human and then thinking, I can't remember this guy's name, or their memory's not working that good, or whatever, or, people notice performance variations in their general working consciousness. Everyone must. Some people just, it's like basketball players. Some people can just jump and, reach a certain height. Some people can just run fast. Some people, general normal memory is, general, like these people who go on these TV game shows and like to answer all the questions or whatever. But I'm quite sure that generally most people, at least no matter what your level is, will have experienced these fluctuations, right? My opinion is that I think they like throw these things out there, and they know it's going to like pep people's engine. I mean, they used to call in the army, they used to call them pep pills, didn't they? The amphetamines pep pills, right? This is what I think. I think that it's like headhunters or touts, right? And I think they throw these things out there just to see how these different people are going to react to them. And then when they get a certain one that flares up or particularly stands out, like Keir Starmer, for example, with a name like that, Keir Starmer. Ooh, this is a good one. See if we can get him on onto our side. Yes, he'll be a good prosecutor. There's a good headhunt in there for Keir Starmer. And then what they do is they either see if they can get you on their side, like, join the police, he's going to be the next police chief, bring him up through the ranks. Or if you're, and this is my opinion, because these people are about taxes, he's going to be a good revenue raiser, he's going to raise lots of taxes for the king, he's going to be a good revenue turner, he's going to go slam loads of people in prison, Keir Starmer. Although, no, he was a human rights lawyer. But then they got him to switch over to the other side. And if you are potentially going to be someone who is going to, maybe be a potential obstruction to this empire, then, things happen, speed cameras fire, or, misfortunes happen, or, telephones don't ring, emails don't get received, letters disappear in the post, all that kind of thing, paint the town red with your imagination. And if you are someone who, could be the next Sam Goosey, the next clerk of the justices, rising through the ranks all the way up to the Supreme Court, then doors open and so forth. But the thing is, so it's I think that it's that there's a lot more to it in who's who, and now that I know what's been happening to a lot of the ancient historic sites and the history and this and that, and now we've got this clearly this massive corporate takeover. They don't even really want people to have democracy anymore and so forth. What I'm saying is that bit of it, there's all the other bits, but what I'm saying is that area of this drug thing, this police undercover controlled substances thing, actually has a purpose and a role to play in the bigger picture, right, of everything else that's been going on with the general food supply of the nation and the whole corporate thing and the whole war thing and just the whole thing. And that is a part of their organisation, right? And unfortunately, the police have been the dark voyeurs of it, and the controllers, controlled substances, the voyeurs, and it's not good, because what they're actually toying with and messing with is individuals and their personal performance and capacity, and then also what happens to them, misfortunes or lucky events, or doors opening and doors closing, opportunities happening or not happening, messages being delivered or not delivered. And when we don't know what the police are really doing, I mean, the police can write down what they want on paper, but what gets winked and nodded and said and known up to higher and higher and higher places. And then you've got the whole media bit of it as well. This is when they start recruiting. You've got Gary Barlow here, who he wants a bit of fame. He'll be another tax earner for us. And he'll be another. He fit on the poster idol on the wall. There's a nice place for Gary there. This is the thing. And then there are lots of parts to the model. There's the whole kind of like TV, come on down, the price is right, be a clapper in the audience, be a cheerer, be a X Factor Q line-upper. So there's a social element of it as well. Women like the whole social element of it. They fall for the whole, be popular, women have got this inner drive to be social. And then when you get all the eyelash effects, the fake TV, the fake audience clapping, the lights, the camera, the action, which is kind of all like the cake decoration on it all to make it more than it really is. And then, unfortunately, that's why a lot of people aren't actually satisfied with a normal life, because everything that you see on TV is dressed up to make it extra exciting or more better. So, there are various parts of the model of how they've got the whole thing rigged, but what I wanted to bring into it is that the police's role and the undercover part of it is actually quite dark and sinister, and there's a lot more to it when it comes to I mean, you might say, well, what about Hunter Biden? He's, Biden, the president's son. He was doing all these wild parties and this and that, but he got, called out and pulled over. Well, this is the thing, it's like Boris Johnson, ended up getting ill. That's just like sat at the, Dr. No, it's like on Spectre, sat at the Spectre table, number 7, you failed me, push the button. That's just that, Johnson, or Mr. Johnson, you failed us, push the button, like pull the Graham Norton chair, because that's how they play, that's how they play it, You know, I mean, look at, I mean, never mind Hunter Biden. Look at Biden. You know, he's not fit for purpose now. Clearly, it's a joke. You know, this can't possibly be the president of the United States of America. You know, he's got to be other people. You know, so it's part of it. I think that, in my opinion, they're using the controlled drugs and substances with the food that's been really hindering growth and development. And then what they're doing is they're kind of like walking around and pepping certain people to see how they pep or see how they pop, see what the potential is, so to say. And then you don't have loads of asterisks and obliques, you know, going around smashing Romans. You've got people who are actually not quite living their potential. And then what they do is they go around and they see who you know, if they're gonna, if anyone stands out, are they going to be able to yoke them over to their side? You know, the next police chief officer, you know, the next sheriff of Nottingham, with their complete, total illegal road sign network set up, you know, giving pleas, holding pleas unlawfully, you know, whatever. I mean, just look at who these people are, what they're doing. Everything's illegal. You know, ULEZ, it's illegal. It's against the Liberty of London, you know. But yet, the irony is that these people are framed as heroes, you know, medals, awards, badges, the whole lot, you know, all these awards, you know, as lifesavers, you know. Nothing against, you know, the air ambulance or the life, you know, the lifeboat service or whatever. Not knocking lifeboat service people, but it's, you know, and a lot of the accidents on the road are due to people being not at the best awareness, falling asleep, fatigue, tiredness. Some people can't even reverse now without a vehicle and a camera, like a rear-facing camera, with beeps and buzzers. They don't even know what position their vehicle's in. You know, we're being turned into amoebas. I don't think that this is going very well at the moment, because they're wanting to replace us they're saying we're not competent or capable to do anything anymore. 1 minute we're chasing woolly mammoths and riding elephants, and then we're not even fit to reverse a car backwards, you know, when it's got wing mirrors on each side and a mirror in the middle, you know, and you're familiar with it. If there isn't some kind of slow creeping genocide going on, like Roger Waters says, you know, then what? And they're not even wanting us to do that anymore. They're wanting machines to do it. I don't think that there is any use for us in this plan they've got, you know. And, you know, if the police, you know, want to carry on with it, and you see what they're doing with the police is they've got this new kind of like super commando $1 million man robot thing where they've got, oh no, we'll zook you up like Captain America, you know. They get all these movies out, you know, oh, this is the one, you know, the you know, chief sergeant, you know, whatever, and then these police are getting awarded, and then they're like, oh, don't worry, I'm, you know, then they think they're going to be the next Captain America, you know, the bio upgrade, you know, the bionic eye, and then the bionic arm, you know, and this and that. So they're constantly selling that. You know, don't worry, you're going to be the next, biohuman soldier. So and they like it. They're going for it. They're up for it. You know, they're up for it. You know, the next, fireman. You know, just pull a nose out of the back of his neck, and or like his arm just turns into a doot. You know. Or even you need to do it if it's fully replaced. You know, you can just sit at home watching soccer match or whatever. You know, either or. But you know, whichever way it goes, whether it is a bit of both, I'm not too keen on the idea, because I think that we've been played, and it's not a fair game, at all. And coming back to the first point I opened the video with Sunak and Starmer and their chess game, they don't want us to be our pieces. They want to change us all into pawns, effectively. And that's what they're doing now by changing it. The law is very much set for what it is. We've all got rights of fair judgment, and we've got a right to opposition. Well, they don't want us to oppose. They want us to be pawns, and they don't want us to have powers to opposition, to object. You physically, a police officer is objecting to you being in the road, right, through law. Now, when someone puts an application in for something and you object, you use law because you've got a legal right to object, right? First, physically, on site, because any plaintiff doesn't even have to go to court. They can say to their neighbour, oh, I'm not too keen on, your new fence. It's changed the whole street. May I make an objection? Could you, leave it as it is, please? Right? That's the first point. And then we do it through, so you've made a representation, right? And then if you put a writ in, right? You put a writ in to the council to try to stop them. And then you can go to a court, right? And if they haven't got permission, they're not allowed to do it until it's passed, right? So they're not supposed to be doing anything. But you've got the right all the way up to Parliament. And if it's gone, then it's gone, right? Now, Sunak doesn't want, Sunak doesn't want his priceless painting gone. Because then if you just give him a copy of it, it's no good to Sunak. It's no good to Sunak, to have a copy. He wants the actual one, right? But for us, oh no, it's okay. If you had ever managed to appeal, if you managed to get 100,000 signatures or 400,000 in Wales, then, I'll get you another one. No, Rishi. I want to protect that picture and that tree. There, Rishi, right? So I'm objecting with force on site, like the policeman, get out of the road, right? And then if you don't get out of the road, then he takes you to court. But we've already taken you to Parliament. We are pursuing the signatures to stop the tree getting cut down. So if you can't object, you can't oppose them. It's like turning a horse and chess into a pawn. Rishi doesn't want us to have a force. His police can have a force. Don't touch me, I'll touch you. But Sunak doesn't understand that it starts from the 100, the community. We all have to catch the criminal, or there'll be consequences. Now, we all want to stop the trees being cut down, right? We've subscribed to it. So we're going to block them until the council or the High Court or the Parliament give us a resolution. We'll stand there until we get the resolution. But Rishi doesn't want us to do that because his big construction vehicles, his juggernauts are far too important under Grant Shapps' juggernaut army of, and that's another force, And they're even starting to put cones out and clear roads, dig things up, before they've even got permission through the courts. According to Stonehenge Alliance, they're already acting like they've won before they even can decide whether they can appeal or not. Because that's the thing with these demolition people, Wreck-It Ralph. Once you've booked it, it's gone. And this is the thing with construction people, right? If they just get in there and then bash it, it's gone. Get in there, get the cement cracked, bang it down. Oh, damn. Too late now, it's gone. Oh, well. And then what are you going to do? You'll never have it because it's gone. You can only have a replacement. And that's how the highways agency like to do things. That's how the builders like to do it. Rugby tackle. Get in there, bang, fuck it, and then sort out the legal shit after, because once they're in there, once they've got in there, bang, it's gone. So it's all over. It's already over. All you're doing then is either getting paid off by money or getting something which is a replacement, but they still beat you. They still beat you because they got in there and they tackled you down. And that's Johnson, that's Oxford, because, they win, you lose. For them, it's win-win. And, it's like flip the coin. It's their coin. If it's heads, it's their coin. Tails, their coin. It's their money, All what matters is whether they get their way or not. They always get the money. They never lose the money because now they own everything. Don't matter what you buy. If you stop buying one thing and buy something else, they don't lose because they own it all. So it's all about getting things exactly their way, how they want it. And now they're trying to take away your right to even think of opposing them. And even when you work out how to oppose them, they even want to, they don't want you to be able to oppose or object. If they could, they'd actually just make it illegal to object. So, that's what they're about. There's one thing that they need to learn, which I don't think they will, which is lose. This is something about Winchester they don't teach them. They only teach them to win. They don't teach them to lose. And what Johnson and Sunak and Snaps and Gove and Hunt need to do is lose. They need to lose. This is like Trump and Biden. Just lose, because that's what they want us to do. And if we don't lose, then they'll make it impossible to win by changing the rules.